FIA EXPO Chicago 2023. John Lothian News sat down with Dawn Stump. Dawn, crypto is absent from the conference. What is the current state of crypto?
One of my current affiliations is I'm on the board of GBDC Digital Finance, and we're actually putting out a report later this week on how to help regulators and the industry deal with all of the interesting questions that are not present in traditional finance for digital asset custody. So I think there are a lot of people thinking about this, and I think unfortunately the impetus of FTX has caused a lot of people to ask tough questions and think about how best to advance the ball. Digital assets don't look exactly like traditional assets, but regulators expect those protections to be in place. Settlement, segregation of the assets, even the AML KYC elements that come into place with a custody chain. So those are really tough questions that need to be answered, but I do have confidence that there are people out there thinking about it, and I actually have a real-world example of a group I'm affiliated with putting out a report later this week to help advance the ball.
What do you think will be the CFTC's forthcoming guidance on voluntary carbon markets?
I actually think that Chairman Benham should be commended for putting this much time and energy and thought into how the voluntary carbon markets work. Obviously, there's a lot of interest in carbon markets and climate related issues, and there's a lot of derivatives out there that need to have a robust spot market with reliable and transparent information. So it makes sense, I think, that even though the CFTC is not going to be regulating that voluntary spot market, that they have an interest in ensuring that those markets are appropriately framed and are reliable and can be the best they need to be in order to help the derivatives markets advance. I did the keynote here 2 years ago, and when I was asked what are the top 3 issues that CFTC commissioners are tasked with addressing, carbon and crypto were among the top 3. And so these are really interesting issues that continue to persist in the CFTC space. I think the marketplace that's tasked with carbon mitigation would really like to have some reliable standards that they can point to that are government endorsed.
What are your thoughts on event contracts?
The recent action on the Kalshi contract was not a unanimous decision, and I think that speaks to the fact that there is a great deal of interpretation where the statute is concerned, and the statute does make it fairly clear that a contract needs to meet one of an enumerated set of criteria in order for the commission to review it. And one of those things is, in fact, gaming, terrorism, war, assassination. Then once the commission makes that determination, they subsequently need to determine if the contract is in the public interest. Obviously, the majority of the CFTC commissioners found that both of those tests were not achieved, were met, and therefore denied Kalshi the ability to list the contract. My personal view is that the statute and the regulation are not necessarily in conformity, and I think that it would benefit the entire market if the commission reviewed their regulation with an eye towards the actual words in the statute. The statute instructs the commission that if they are going to find something is not in the public interest beyond those enumerated activities, that they need to do a rulemaking. They need to have comments. They need to have public input. And I think it's pretty evident based upon the comments that came in during the Kalshi review period that there's a great deal of confusion in the public about what is and what is not in the public interest.
What are you covering in your interview with Matt Holsizer?
Matt is the co-founder of Peak Six. He and his co-founder, Jenny Just, have spent a great deal of time thinking about how we can harness the benefit of diversity to make, our leaders, better at what they do. So, we all have heard so much of late as to why we need to have diverse leaders, why we need to have men and women and people of ethnic diversity on boards, in the C-suite, on the executive teams. And that's important, and we've made progress there. And I think that it's interesting that we now seem to be very proud of the fact that we have met a number of metrics, yet we haven't actually achieved the inclusive piece, the how do you make all of these diverse bodies work and function so you can harness that benefit of diverse thinking. And one of the things that actually Jenny, Matt's co-founder, has been traveling the country, traveling the world, talking about is how women, girls even, could be better leaders if they learned how to play poker. So we're going to talk about poker and how poker actually can help women who tend to be risk averse. And I can attest to this. When I was at the CFTC, I often would overthink and agonize about what I wanted to say. And sometimes the conversation moves on without you. And so you've got to be a little bit quicker on your feet. And so the idea is, and Matt and I are going to talk more about it, I look forward to learning why poker can actually help women in their ability to take risks and strategize and allocate capital in a way that is best suited to a leader. And hopefully eventually we're going to get to the place where the female leaders and the male leaders all understand each other a little better, and our quest for more diversity results in true, meaningful leadership development and leadership benefits.
How do you look back at your time as a CFTC commissioner?
I was the only female on the commission I served on, but I was very fortunate to serve with a number of my friends. I knew all of the other four well before we got to the commission, so we were able to hit the ground running, and I felt like we got a lot of things done. I never felt as though my voice wasn't heard, being the only female.
What are you doing these days?
I currently sit on the board of directors for the GBBC Digital Finance, which is a nonprofit that has historically worked in standard setting for crypto and digital assets. They've since merged with GBBC, which is a blockchain organization. So I'm exposed to a lot of really interesting things there. I'm also on the board of Railbird Exchange, which is an aspiring event contract exchange. They are not yet registered with the CFTC, but I'm hopeful that will happen. They have some interesting ideas, and they're fairly cautious, and I think that's the right approach to entering this space. I'm on the advisory board along with Chairman Giancarlo and Troy Paredes and Brian Brooks of Solidus Labs, which is a software company that is crypto native, but they focus on surveillance and trade monitoring. So they offer that service to a variety of companies who want to be serious about doing the things the regulators expect you to do if you want to be a mature market. And I very much support what they're doing. I think it's important, whether you're using Solidus or someone else, employing the technology that helps you do the trade surveillance, the AML, KYC, the other things that make it impossible to have a mature market without also being in the surveillance business, if you will.
For more Expo content, visit johnlothiannews.com.